Hi, my name is Jen and I am from the Technical Product Support Department. Today I'm going to be discussing company stores, and I first wanted to start off with talking about what a company store is so that you know the difference between a company store and an ESP website. With an ESP website, your customers have the ability to search for all of the products in ESP Web, whereas a company store is a site where you are actually dictating what products will show up on the site. You can have up to 10 product collections on your site with a total of 100 products in each product collection, which would be a total of 1,000 products. Company stores are specifically used for maybe a specific niche market. For example, maybe a company store or a financial institution such as a bank. So I'm going to go ahead and start off by talking to you about how to log into ESP Web. So if you're logging into ESP Web for the first time, you're going to open up your web browser and you're going to type searchesp.com. You'll then be brought to a login page where you will put in your ASI number, your username, and your password. Okay, and if you have the application set to automatically log into ESP Web, you'll be brought to the ESP Web page, and you have a tab here that says ESP Websites Admin. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. If you are logging in and the first thing that you see is your dashboard, I'm going to go to your dashboard so that you can see where to log in there. You would scroll down to the area here where it says ESP Websites Admin, and then you would click on Manage ESP Websites. When you log into the website's admin, you'll notice over here on the right-hand side that you should have sites listed here to build. So you'll have a total of how many website licenses to build, as well as any store licenses to build. If you do not see them here, you do want to contact your account executive so that you can have that license set up for you so that you can go ahead and build your site. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start off by building a company store. I'm going to go ahead and click on Start. The first area that it wants you to fill in is the site address. So for example, I'm going to call this, I'll say Jen's Promos 2, because I already have a regular promos. And then it's going to ask me for a site title. The next area I can browse to where I have a logo. I'm going to go ahead and select my logo. I do want to point out that your optimal logo size is 200 pixels wide by 70 pixels high. The logo should be at least that size. Larger logos will be optimized for your site, and it should be 2 megabytes is the maximum file size, and it should be in PNG, a JPEG, or a GIF format only. If you don't have a logo, you can just type in a text here, so I could just type in the name of my store here, and that'll show on the top of my site as my logo. The next area is my company information, and then I can choose whether I want to show that information on my company store or not, as well as my phone number, fax number, and email address. You'll see that the fax number is default to not show on the site, so if you do want it to show, you would go ahead and check that box. The next area is your company's social networking links. So if you have any social networking links that you would like to attach to this site, you could go ahead and put that information in here. I'm going to go ahead and click on Next Step. You're then going to be brought to the page where you can choose the template for your site. As you go through that, you'll see that there are some here for specific industries. We have healthcare, nonprofit, finance, education, automotive. Then you'll also see some templates that have some additional colors underneath. So if you'd like to see what that template looks like in that color, you would just simply place your mouse on that color. So you'll notice this particular one just has to do with the color of the navigation. You'll notice that the Go button and the Read More button, that's showing in pink. I'm going to go to page 2 here on my templates, and this will show you a little bit better what I mean by that. So if you click your mouse on this color here, blue, it's going to show you what this big template looks like in blue. Here's the spiritual template. That again is just going to change your navigation. Here's our square, and you'll see that in different colors. I'm going to go ahead and select mine here on festive, and I'm going to select green, and I'm going to select it simply by clicking on green, and then you'll see that there is a check mark here letting you know that that is my template that I chose. I can then choose my font. You have a choice of Arial, Helvetica, Verdana, Times New Roman, and Trebuchet. Once you select your font, you will see a preview of what it looks like here on the right. The next area is your advanced options. In this area, it's going to make you pick a product collection. If this is not a product collection that you want to use, it's okay. You can always go back later and add your product collection, but you do need to pick one when you're first setting this up for the first time. So I'd normally select apparel. All right, and I'm going to click on my plus sign here. Then I'm going to click on my newsletter sign up. This is asking you if you want to have your customers have the ability to sign up for a newsletter on your site. This is not something that you have to do. I do want to let you know that this is not a newsletter that is controlled by you. This is a newsletter that is controlled by ASI, and ASI will be sending your customers that newsletter. So you may not want to actually use that option. Plus, when your customers get that newsletter, it may be for products that are not on this site. So as I mentioned in the beginning of this training, a company store, you're dictating what products are showing up on this site, whereas the ESP website, you can search for any product. So your customer, if they sign up for this newsletter, they may end up getting a newsletter that is about a product that is not on this company store. So I'm going to say that I don't want to use that option, and then I'm going to click on last step. This is then going to show me my headline for my home page, as well as my introductory text and my About Us page. You can modify the text that is here if you would like. If not, you do have the ability to come back later and modify that if you would like. Your last option here is to select whether or not you want to set a video on your page. You would simply select yes or no. You do have the ability to use videos that ASI has already set up and add that to your site, or you can create your own videos using YouTube and then add that onto your site. I'm going to go ahead and click Preview Site. Once you see the preview of your site, and if you're pleased with it, you can go ahead and click Publish. If you decide that maybe you don't like that template, you can just click on Go Back, and then you can go back and make changes. So I'm happy with my site, and I'm going to go ahead and click on Publish. Okay, and I do want to show you here that once you have actually set up your site, you do have the ability to go back and make modifications to it by clicking on Edit Site. I'm going to skip that for a moment. We're going to go back to that. I do want to point out that you also have a stats button here. So if you click on that, it will show you some stats about your visitors, your products viewed, and your searches. You also have information here where you can set up a Google Analytics ID. So if you've already set that up with Google Analytics, and they would give you an ID number once you set that up, and then you would put that information here. To go ahead and set that up for the first time, you would go to Global Features and then Google Analytics, and it would take you to Google Analytics page where you can get information about that and then signing up for that. So like I said, once you've signed up, you can then put in your Google Analytics ID here. Once you have it set up, then you have the ability to click on Go to My Google Analytics, and then you'll have access to other reports. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my site. You'll notice that there's also an SEO button. This is for search engine optimization, and your home page has already been done for you. This will allow you to choose keywords that will pull your site up for your clients when they're doing a Google search. You also have the ability to add your social media links here. So if you didn't do it when you were setting up your site, you can just simply click on one of the social media icons, and then it'll bring up the page to enter in your URLs for your different social media sites. Once you've put that information in, you can go ahead and click Apply. I'm going to click Cancel because I didn't actually apply any. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click Edit Site. When you come into this area, you have the ability where you can go ahead and change your template if you'd like. I do want to let you know, though, that if you are changing your template, if you have made any custom changes to your site as far as maybe custom pages or navigation or anything like that, it will wipe out those changes and you will have to reapply them. Also, your logo, you would have to reapply your logo as well. So just make sure that you do want to change that. You will get a warning message if you're changing it asking you, are you sure you want to do this? Okay, and then the next is your site logo. And when we were setting up our site, I had already selected my logo, but if I need to change it, maybe later on down the line I have a new logo, I can go ahead and browse to where that new logo is at, and then I can save it. You also have the ability of uploading something called a favicon, which is this little E right here that's showing on this tab. You can change it so that your logo is actually showing on that tab. So I'm going to browse to where mine is located, and mine is on my desktop. I do want to let you know that this maximum size for that file would be 2 megabytes, and it can only be in JPEG format. When you're finished, you would just go ahead and click on Save, and then you would click on Publish. Okay, so if you look at my site now, you're going to see that I now have a favicon on my site. Okay, I'm going to go back and edit my site. The next area is your font. So if you decide later on down the line you want to change the font on your site, you can do that. Again, your choices are Arial, Helvetica, Verdana, Times New Roman, and Trebuchet. The next area is Pages and Menus. Manage Page Content is the first option underneath there. This allows you to modify the About Us page on your site. So you can change any of the information that's listed here. You can change your font. You can use the bold option if you would like. If you want to upload an image, you have the ability to do that as well. And then when you're finished, you would go ahead and click on Save. The next area that we're going to cover is your introductory text. And this is your welcome text. So if you look at your site here, here is your welcome text. And you can change this information. So again, you can change the wording that is here. You can change it to be bold. If you want to change the font color or the font size or the font name, you can do that. And then when you're finished, you can go ahead and click on Save. The next area we're going to cover is the Manage Products area, and then Product Collections. This allows you to choose the different collections that will appear on your homepage. And as you'll remember, when we were creating this site, the default collection that I selected was the apparel program. But I do want to show you a couple of things here. Let me close out of this. So I'm going to show you a couple example company stores that I have. So for example, this is my mattsautorepair.logoshop.com. And this particular company store, I have 4 product collections. So you'll see I have a collection here. I have one on the left, one on the right, and then it continues down here so that I have, this is even number collections. So you'll see that it's kind of broken up like that. On this site, I have an odd number of collections. So you'll notice that my very first collection here, I have this red line that goes straight across. And then all of my collections that follow have this white line here separating the collections between them. Okay, I'm going to go back to my website admin. And you'll notice when I first came in here, this is my home page setup. So this is showing me currently the collections that are available to choose from. And then on the right is the collection that I currently have set on my site. So if I want to go ahead and create my own product collection, I'm going to click on the Manage Product Collections tab. And then on the right, I have an option here to create a new product collection. Okay, and I'm going to call this October 20th training. Okay, so that will be the name of the collection that you see. So for example, here's the name of my collection on this site. It's called Auto Accessories. In the description area, you don't necessarily have to fill anything in there because it's not going to show up on your site. This is just for your purposes, maybe on the back end if you wanted to put some notes in here for your own personal use. You'll then see the next area is level. You can choose which level you would like. It automatically defaults to company, and what that means is that anyone that's logged in under your ASI number has the ability to see this product collection as well as make changes. There's also an option for personal shared. That means that anyone that's logged in under your ASI number is able to see this product collection, but they're not able to make changes to it. And the last option is personal, and that means that only the person that created this product collection can actually see it or make changes to it. I'm going to leave mine set on company, and you do want to leave this option here selected that says active, and then I'm going to click save. It's then going to bring me to a search page where I can search for products to put into that collection. Now I do want to mention here that if a lot of clients that do company stores create custom products to put into that company store. I'm not going to really go over custom products in this webinar. There is a separate webinar for custom products if you would like more information regarding that. But for those of you that do create custom products, I do want to mention that if you're adding them to a product collection, when you first come into the quick search area, you're going to want to put your ASI number in here so that it only pulls up your product collection. I'm sorry, your custom products. And then you would click Go. So I don't know if you noticed when I first came in here, the amount of items has changed from over 100,000 to 984 products because this is the amount of custom products that I have in my database right now. So I can go through and I can select products from this first page. You'll notice that I have more than 5 pages worth of products. Or if I'm looking for a specific product, I could erase my ASI number. It's still going to remember it down here. And then I'm going to check this box to search within. So for example, one of my custom products is AWK500. And then I'm going to click Go. That'll take me directly to that particular product if I want to add that one. So I'm going to go ahead and place a check mark in that box. And then under where it says marked items, I can select add to current product collection. Now for those of you that are not going to be putting custom products in here, I'm going to go ahead and remove my search terms here. You would normally just be brought to this page where you can actually start doing a search for products to put into your collection. So you'll see that it's defaulting to 993 products. 993,000 products. So for example, if maybe I'm just looking for mugs to put into this collection, I'm typing in mugs and hitting the enter key, and I can select my category, and I'll say I want it within this dollar range, and I want blue shades. Okay, and then again I would just simply place a check mark on the products that I want, and then I'm going to click on my drop down box and I'm going to select add to current product collection. Just as a reminder, you can add up to 100 products into each collection and you can have a total of 10 product collections on this site. I'm going to go ahead and return to the Design Studio. And you'll notice down here at the bottom, these are the 3 products that I added to my collection. I'm actually going to add one more product in there because I do want to make sure that I'm adding products that are virtually sample enabled, and I want to point out what I mean by that. Any product that has this little blue wand on it means that that product is virtual sample enabled. So I have the ability of adding my customer's logo so that they can see what that product will look like with their logo on it. You'll notice that this particular product right here does not have that blue wand. So you just want to pay attention to that if you really are looking for only for products that actually have that ability to be virtual sample enabled. Just be careful that you are selecting those. I'm going to go ahead and select this sweatshirt here, and let me see what else we have here. I'll pick this and this one. Okay, and then I'm going to click on my marked items and add to current product collection. I'm going to return back to my Design Studio again. And you'll notice here are all the products that I added to my collection. I do want to point out that if there is a product that you accidentally put into the collection and you don't want it there, you want to go ahead and check that box, and then under the Select Action item, you can select Delete. I'm going to leave that product in my collection though. And now I'm going to go back to my home page setup. And I'm going to put in October. And then I'm going to click on the plus sign. And then I'm going to click on the minus sign because I no longer want the apparel program on my site. I'm going to click on Save. And then I'm going to click on this option here on the right to make my changes live. So you'll notice here's my apparel program that I had originally selected. And then when this is finished making my changes live, I'm going to show you the new collection that we added. Okay, so I'm going to pull up my site again. And here's my new collection that I created. I'm going to go back to my website's admin. And then I do want to talk about the product of the day. The product of the day is going to show up here on the right-hand corner of your home page. I do want to mention that the product of the day is going to pull from the product collection that you have set on your site. Right now, my product of the day is pulling from the original collection that I had selected, the apparel program. So it will take a little while for it to update, but it will be pulling from my collection that I just created. You also have the ability here under the product of the day that you can actually set up your own product of the day schedule if you'd like. So if you want to maybe change your product of the day going from maybe monthly, you change your different product of the day, you can set up that schedule. We're not really going to go over setting up the schedule now, but if you have any questions regarding that, you can give us a call and support, and we'd be glad to help you with that. Right now I have mine set to let the system automatically choose the product of the day for me. Okay, so now I'm going to do virtual samples. All right, so right now I have mine set that I want to show the supplier's original product image, but I'm going to change it so that I want to show a virtual sample ready product image using an image that I selected. You'll notice here that it lets you know that the logo must be in either a PNG, a TIF file, a JPEG, or an EPS file format. For best results, the logo, you should select a logo with a transparent background, and the acceptable size is less than 2 megabytes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and select my logo, and I'm going to select this one here. If you don't have a logo to add, you can add text here if you would like instead. Okay, and then when you're finished, you will go ahead and click Save. And then I'm going to make my changes live. And I'm going to refresh my site here. So here's one of the products, and it's kind of cutting it off because that logo is kind of big, but right there it's showing your logo here. And it's probably on this product as well, but it's kind of light. Let's see if we can do a darker color. There we go. So there's the logo that I had selected. The next area that we're going to cover is the website settings. And we're going to go to site summary. This is basically just showing you an overview of your site, letting you know what your domain is that you can give to your customers. If you decide at some point that you no longer need this company store and you want to use it for a new customer, you have the option here where you can click on Reset Site. You are going to get a warning message asking you, are you sure you really want to do this? Because it will wipe out the information on this site. The next area is your site info. This is where your site title is stored, your site email, the owner's name and the owner's title, as well as your company information, your address. We do get a lot of calls and support where customers ask, where do I go to change the information on my website, and I need to change either the address or I need to change the phone number. This is where you would do that. Again, in this area, you can decide what's going to actually show up on your site. So right here, I have this little option checked. I want to show my company information on this company store, as well as the phone number, fax, and email. I do want to point out that if you're making changes on the top part of this area where the site info is, you do want to make sure you click this Save button here. And if you're making any of the any changes to the area here where it says Enter Your Company Information, you do want to click on the Save Address button. The site email address too, I do want to mention that this is the email address that your clients will receive notifications from when they go to your site and request info, or if they place an order on your site. The next area is the display options. This is where you can choose what your customers can actually see and search by. The next area is your domains. You can add up to 5 domains total. You can have a custom domain that needs to be secured from a registrar such as GoDaddy or Network Solutions are a couple of examples. If you do have a custom domain set up, you do need to tell your domain host that they need to update your A record with this IP address. And then once that information is updated, you also want to add the custom domain here by clicking on Add. So for example, if it was a custom domain, I would select the option for custom domain. So a lot of clients do this because they don't want the .logo shop at the end of their web address. So for example, maybe if they just wanted it to be jenspromos2.com, they could change it to that. But they would definitely have to have that set up, like I said, with a company that hosts domains, which would be the examples that I mentioned, GoDaddy or Network Solutions are a couple examples. The next one is analytics that we talked about a little earlier. Again, this is another area where you can come and you can actually check the option here to enable it, and then you would put in your account ID, which normally begins with a UA number. Okay, and the next area is e-commerce. This is where you can adjust your product pricing. You can add a percentage to the catalog price. You can subtract a percentage from the catalog price. You can add a percentage of the net cost to the catalog price, or you can set a profit margin, or you can also select an option to not show pricing on your site. And then when your customers view the price grid, they would see it would be listed as QUR, as you'll see right here, which stands for quote upon request. I do want to mention that a lot of clients that may be using a company store, they normally create custom products and they're already dictating what the pricing is going to be on those custom products. so they may not use this area for that pricing information. You also have the ability to apply a setup charge. Again, for clients using custom products, you can set up a setup charge directly on each one of the products if you would like. You also have the ability to set a maximum decimal place on your product pricing if you want to. There's an option to show default decimal places set by the supplier or change the max decimal places on pricing. You can also select whether you want to show the following price grid rows on your website. You can select whether you want to show pricing codes, and then you can also hide prices for products with pricing that's not been confirmed this year. The next area is the payment processing option. So if you want to set up your site to accept credit card payments, I do want to mention that two of the vendors that that we currently work with is PayPal and Promo Payment. So you would need to set up an account with one of those, and then once you set up an account with them, you would come in and you would select the option here to say, I want to accept payments on my site. If you're using Promo Payment, you would use these two options here for credit card and or the electronic payment. If you're using PayPal, then you would only select the PayPal box here. You have the ability here to invoice the customer if you would like. And then if you're not going to be accepting credit cards on your site, which was automatically defaulted before we selected it to show payments on your site, you can leave it set on that. But if you are accepting payments on your site, you do want to make sure that you set this option here as well. I want to require a deposit on the estimated order total. We usually recommend that you do a percentage that is less than 100% so that you have the ability to bill your customers for any additional fees such as setup charges, shipping, tax, things like that. The credit card setup, you would go ahead and select that information if you're using Promo Payment. With PayPal, you're automatically going to have your credit card information set up on your account. So when they log into the PayPal area, when they're going through the checkout process, they're already going to see the credit card options there. The Promo Payment security key would be the code that they give you when you set up your account with Promo Payment. Your PayPal account ID is normally the email address that you're using with PayPal. You have the ability to set up your site for a shipping charge as well as a sales tax. But I do want to mention that a lot of clients may not particularly use this area because this is going to be straight across the board for all the products on your site. So that can kind of be hard. So like for example, the price to ship a box of mugs is going to be different than the price of shipping a box of t-shirts. So some clients may actually factor in that pricing on their custom product that they may be building. Otherwise, you do have the ability to also bill your customer for the shipping fees later. Again, the tax information, if you're only selling to a customer in one particular state, then you can go ahead and select yes and then put in what that percentage is. But if you are going to be selling products to customers that are in different areas, then the tax rate is going to change. So you would not want to set that option here. You may want to, again, that might be something you want to add into the base price of the custom product, or you can bill that to your customer later on down the line. You also have the ability to set up coupons and point options if you would like. If you do want to use coupons, you would want to go to Global Features and go to the Coupon Manager to set up your coupon. We're not going to cover that today though, but if you do have additional questions regarding that, please feel free to give us a call and support, and then we can help you set that up. You also have the ability to set up your site for company points. So some clients may set up a company store that is used for like an employee reward system. And if you are using this option, you would choose a name for your currency, a symbol, and an exchange rate. the exchange rate always equals up to $1 US. And I do want to mention that the system does not keep track of company points. You will have to manually keep track of that on your own. There's an option here too that says do not show supplier specials on my ESP website, and what that means is when your customer's going through clicking on products on your site, they would get an email basically letting the customer know if there was a special on that particular product. Since this is a company store, you may not want to have your customer receive that information because you're probably already setting up a special price for them. So this may just be an option that you want to use for your ESP website. A lot of these settings are, the settings are used for ESP websites as well as company stores. So some of these options may just be used strictly by ESP websites. The next area is your order confirmation options. The email address that's showing here is this person's email will receive all order notifications. And if you're not sure who this person is, you could skip to the alternative email account setup and then put in the email address for that alternate email address. And you'll see the submit order content. This is what your customer will see during checkout. They will have a thank you page as well as an email thanking them for shopping with you, and you can customize that information that they're seeing. You can also customize the email disclaimer as well as the payment content as well on the thank you page and the email page. You then have artwork options listed here. So the ability there to use uploaded artwork allows your customer to upload their own logos to the order, or there is the option to use approved artwork, which allows you as the distributor to upload specific logos for your client to choose from. And in order to set them up, you would set them up here under Tools and then Manage Artwork, and you would upload those logos for your customer to choose from. Okay. The next area would be the site password. So if you want to put a password on your site so that only certain customers can actually go to that site and access it, you would check this little box here to enable the password protection. This is the information that they will see when they automatically go to the site. You can change what that information says, and then you can put in what you want the password to be, and then click Save, and then make your changes live. Okay, so I'm going to close these other views. So as you'll see, this is showing me the text that I have the ability to change, which is right here. And then it's asking me for the password that I had entered. And then click Login. Okay, and if you want to turn that option off, you can just simply uncheck that box, click Save, and then make your changes live. All right, and then the last option here is exclusions. And this allows you to exclude particular products from your site. And you won't really use this option because with company stores, as I mentioned, you're dictating what products are going to show up on this site. So this really wouldn't apply to a company store. This would be mostly for an ESP website. Okay, so then when you're finished making your changes, again, you would go ahead and click on Make Your Changes Live. And then you would just go and view your site. And then you have the ability to always go back whenever you want and make any other modifications that you would like. Okay, I do want to point out also that if you click on Help and Support, it'll take you to our knowledge base. And you can type in a particular subject if you would like. So if you want to type in company store, we do have different articles here about building your company store. And then here's one here on managing product collections for your site. You also have the ability to email us here in support by clicking on email, or you can also email us at support@asicentral.com. We also have a call me feature. So if you click on that option, you put in your information, and then you will be directed to the first person in support that's available. We are available Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then we also have a live chat as well, and that's available Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also reach us at support by calling 800-546-1350 and selecting option 2. So that sums up our company stores training. I hope that that was helpful for you. And again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call us in support. Have a great day.